In a world overrun by the dead, a historian uncovers a truth buried since the first outbreak. The infection did not spread because no one stopped it. It spread because someone stayed alive. Rhea Calder had learned early that the dead lied less than the living. They still lied, of course, but not on purpose. She sat across from the old man in a room that smelled like dust, iodine, and boiled roots. Her recorder, a salvaged handheld wrapped in tape, rested between them on the table. Its red light blinked steadily, like a patient heartbeat. "Tell me again," Rhea said gently, "from the beginning." The man's eyes drifted to the cracked window. Beyond it, the settlement's perimeter fence rattled softly in the wind. No zombies today. That, too, was something people noticed now. "It was before the sirens," he said. "Before anyone called it anything. We thought it was a riot or bad eggs." He swallowed. "There was a man standing in the street, didn't move, didn't run, didn't scream." Rhea's fingers tightened slightly around her notebook. "Just watched." "Watched what?" she asked. "The others," the man said. "When they started falling. When they started biting." Rhea had heard this before, not from him, but from dozens of others. Always the same shape to the memory: chaos, panic, blood, and somewhere at the edge of it all, a still figure, a witness. She thanked the man, clicked off the recorder, and stepped back into the settlement's main corridor. The walls were layered with history: old evacuation posters, newer warning signs, names written in charcoal and scratched out again. She moved through them like a ghost herself, cataloging voices, collecting fragments. That was her job now: historian, archivist, a woman trying to nail down the shape of the end of the world before it slipped entirely into myth. Most survivor stories contradicted each other on the details that mattered: how fast it spread, where it started, who was to blame: governments, corporations, God. But there was one thing they agreed on. Someone had been there at the start. Not a hero, not a villain, a watcher. She listened to the recordings at night, alone in her quarters, the lamp turned low. Voices crackled through cheap speakers. "A man in a hospital gown. No, he was naked, I swear. He didn't attack anyone. He didn't run. He was already dead." Rhea paused the audio and leaned back, staring at the ceiling. Different cities, different countries, different years, people who had never met. Statistically, it made no sense, unless they weren't describing the same moment, unless they were describing the same person. Correlation wasn't causation. Trauma rewrote memory. People wanted meaning. They wanted a face to blame. Still, the watcher appeared too often, too consistently, always silent, always present, always alive, or something close to it. She had just started mapping the sightings geographically when Jonah found her. He stood in the doorway of the records room, small and still, like a shadow that had learned how to breathe. He couldn't have been more than 12. His eyes were too old for his face. "You're looking in the wrong places," he said. Rhea didn't jump. She rarely did anymore. "And where should I be looking?" Jonah stepped inside and closed the door behind him. The flickering overhead light buzzed, but didn't die. "There's a place no one goes," he said, "because they can't." Rhea studied him carefully. Jonah had arrived 2 years earlier, alone. No bite marks, no fever history. Zombies ignored him. No one talked about that openly, but everyone knew. "Why can you go there?" she asked. Jonah tilted his head, listening to something she couldn't hear. "They don't mind me," he said. They left at dawn. The road out of the settlement was cracked and overgrown, nature clawing its way back through asphalt veins. Jonah walked barefoot, never looking down. Rhea followed, rifle slung more out of habit than belief. The air changed as they neared the old quarantine zone. It grew heavier. Still. Sound dampened, like the world was holding its breath. Faded signs loomed through the fog: biohazard, no entry, containment failure. Vehicles sat abandoned in crooked lines, doors open, belongings still inside. "People tried to burn it," Jonah said quietly. "Didn't work." Rhea slowed. She could see them now. Zombies, dozens of them, scattered like discarded mannequins. They weren't roaming, they weren't feeding, they were standing, facing inward, toward the center. "They won't come," Jonah said. "How do you know?" she whispered. He didn't answer. At the center of the square, where a temporary hospital had once stood, a man waited. He did not move. He did not sway. His skin was gray, pulled tight over bone. One eye clouded white, the other watched. The zombies orbited him. Rhea's breath caught painfully. He was undead, but his gaze, aware, sorrowful, remembering. "Oh my God," she whispered. The man turned his head. Slowly, carefully, their eyes met. And Rhea knew, without logic, without doubt, this was not a monster. This was a witness. This was the beginning that never ended. They did not leave the quarantine zone that day. Rhea didn't realize that had been a choice until much later. At first, all she could do was stand there, staring at the man who should not have existed. The zombies around him remained eerily calm, their bodies angled toward him as though gravity itself leaned in his direction. None of them reached out. None of them moaned. They waited. The man, Elias, she would later learn, did not approach her. He stayed where he was, feet planted on the cracked concrete, posture rigid with effort. His body looked like it was being held together by will alone. Rhea forced herself to breathe. "Can you understand me?" she asked. His good eye focused fully on her now, slowly, deliberately. He nodded once. Her pulse spiked. "Can you speak?" His jaw trembled. His mouth opened. Nothing came out. The sound that did escape him was barely air, a ghost of a sound, something that might once have been a word. His face twisted, not with rage, but with frustration so raw it hurt to look at. "It's okay," Rhea said quickly, surprising herself with the softness in her voice. "We can take this slow." Jonah stood a few steps behind her, utterly unafraid. "He won't hurt you," the boy said. "He never has." Elias lifted one stiff, discolored hand and gestured weakly toward a collapsed medical tent at the edge of the square. Rhea hesitated only a moment before following. Inside the tent, the air smelled faintly of mold and antiseptic memories. Elias moved with purpose now, retrieving a cracked clipboard and a piece of charcoal. He knelt with difficulty and began to write. The letters were uneven, some scratched out, some rewritten. His hands shook, but he did not stop. Rhea crouched beside him and read, "Elias Mar Intern, Regeneration Trials." He paused, breathing shallowly. "We were trying to stop death." Rhea swallowed. Cellular repair, accidental neural preservation, subjects didn't die. Jonah knelt on Elias's other side, silent, watching. "We didn't understand it. They were alive, but not." "You were the first," Rhea said quietly. Elias stopped writing. For a long moment, he didn't move at all. Then, he nodded. "Exposed first protocol failure, I didn't turn all the way." "You're still conscious," Rhea whispered. "You never lost yourself." Elias wrote again. "I never sleep." The words pressed down on the air between them. Decades. "What happened after?" she asked. His writing grew more frantic. Containment failed, they panicked, locked it down. He gestured around them. "I stayed, they left." "They abandoned you," Rhea said, anger flaring. Elias shook his head. "I told them to run." Silence thickened. "Why are you still here?" she asked. Elias stood slowly. Outside, the zombies shifted. He took one careful step. The horde followed. He stopped. They stopped. "They follow you," Rhea whispered. Elias wrote the truth she'd been circling since the first testimony. "I am the center." Jonah spoke softly. "When I was younger, I came here." Rhea turned sharply. "You never told me." "No one asked." Jonah looked at Elias. "I touched him, just for a second." Elias's eye widened. "That's when they stopped noticing me," Jonah said. Elias wrote one final word. "I anchor it." Rhea felt the truth settle like a weight. The infection didn't spread because Elias existed. It spread because death had never finished its work. Elias dragged his thumb slowly across his throat. A plea. "No," Rhea said instantly. "Please," he wrote. "No," she repeated. "I won't turn you into an execution." Around them, the zombies stirred uneasily. Killing him would not be mercy. It would be violence the world might not survive. And so the man who started everything remained alive, still watching, still waiting. The first sign they were being followed was the silence. Not the comfortable stillness of the quarantine zone, but a listening quiet, deliberate, aware. The zombies at the perimeter pulled back, forming an uneven ring, their heads tilted outward. "Someone's here," Rhea murmured. "They smell wrong," Jonah said, "like people who want something." They arrived at night. Torches cut through the fog. Figures emerged, layered cloth, scavenged armor, pale symbols painted on skin, spirals, eyes, open hands, the shepherds. They knelt at the edge of the zone. "The Watcher," their leader called calmly. "We know you're here." They carried chains, blades etched with prayers. "A ritual execution," Rhea whispered. "To cleanse the land," the woman replied. Elias raised his head. He began to write. "Wait, the first day it was contained. They asked me if I was ready to die. I said no." Rhea felt something crack. "They could have burned it." "I asked for time." "You hesitated," Rhea said, rage breaking free. "Every day I pay for it." Jonah gasped suddenly, collapsing to his knees. "They're afraid," he whispered. "They're thinking." "You're changing," Rhea said. "I'm waking up." Elias wrote a warning. "If I die, it will break." Rhea saw it. Elias wasn't the dam. He was the pressure valve. "If you kill him," Rhea said, stepping forward, "it won't end." The zombies convulsed. "They'll run," Elias wrote. The shepherds hesitated. For the first time, mercy scared them. The first torch shattered on concrete. Fire spilled outward. The shepherds surged. The orbit collapsed. Zombies screamed, not hunger, not rage, confusion. Jonah staggered forward, eyes glowing faintly. "They're tearing!" he gasped. Elias dropped to one knee. "If you kill him," Rhea shouted, "you erase the world's last restraint." The fire spread. "Kill Elias and unleash chaos. Protect him and freeze the world forever." "There has to be another way," Rhea whispered. Elias grabbed the clipboard. "There is, I can share it." "No," Rhea said. "I already feel it," Jonah whispered. "Two can hold it." Elias was failing. "What happens to Jonah?" Rhea demanded. "He will change but not be lost." "And you?" "I can rest." Rhea stepped aside. "Do it," she whispered. Their hands touched. The air shuddered. The horde split. Elias collapsed, finally at peace. Jonah remained standing. The dead listened. Elias died at dawn. No scream followed. The world exhaled. Jonah stood quietly, changed but human. Zombies slowed. Decay returned. True decay. In the weeks that followed, Jonah guided them gently. Not command, suggestion. People called him the guide. Rhea kept recording. She wrote about Elias, not as a monster or a savior, but as a man who waited too long and paid forever. At dusk, they watched the dead wander harmlessly through tall grass. "Not gone," Jonah said, "just ending." Rhea wrote the final line. The end of the world did not come from hatred. It came from waiting too long. And for the first time, the world was allowed to rest. Several years later, the world moved quietly. Not healed, not whole, but steady. Grass claimed the roads first, then vines learned the shapes of buildings. People stopped clearing the ruins and started building around them, as if the past deserved space instead of erasure. Jonah lived by the river now. The settlement there wasn't a city, just homes, gardens, children laughing without fear of drawing attention. Mornings came without alarms, without counting losses. Jonah aged like anyone else. His hair grayed. His hands ached in the cold. He studied them some days, grounding himself in their weight. Human hands. That mattered. People still came to him, not because he saw the future. He didn't. A woman asked one morning, "Should we move the fence? The river's rising." Jonah watched the water. "How does the land feel?" he asked. She frowned. "Tired." "Then let it rest," Jonah said. "Move uphill." She nodded. That was enough. Rhea lived nearby. She wrote less now, slowly, carefully, not about endings, about after. One evening she said, "People still ask about Elias." "They always will," Jonah said. "I don't write about him much anymore." Jonah looked toward the fields. He finished his part. That night, Jonah dreamed. Elias stood in a quiet field beneath a wide sky. No dead walked. They lay still, finally claimed by time. "I thought waiting was mercy," Elias said. Jonah answered, "Sometimes mercy is choosing before it's too late." Elias nodded once. They buried him beneath an oak in the second year. No marker, only stones. A child asked, "Who's there?" "Someone who waited too long," Jonah said, "so others wouldn't have to." The last of the dead vanished without ceremony. 1 week they wandered slowly. The next, they were gone. Time finished what fear could not. Children grew without knowing the word zombie as anything but a story told softly at night. Rhea's final book was thin. She read the last line at sunset. "What would you have done sooner," she asked, "if you believed time was listening?" Jonah didn't answer. The world did. At dusk, he stood in tall grass where the dead once wandered. The air was warm, alive, not perfect, but honest, and for the first time since the end began, no one was waiting anymore.